Art has always been political. We are so back. I'm back with a microphone, filming in peace and quiet and stillness, and not in my car. That's a lie because I just also woke up from a depression nap. So that is how my life is going. But we're back in terms of production value and the timing of my videos. Okay? Hopefully. Cross my fingers. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about art and its role in counterculture and how, more specifically, music is political and has always been political. And I think that we in modern times have lost the plot. We have absolutely lost it. We lost the roots of music, why music is enjoyed, like why music is made, integrity of artists. I feel like it's slowly dissipating. Small disclaimer is that I am in no way an art historian or an expert on music. I just really love it, and I am qualified to speak about political history, I guess, or like social change, social movements. I do have a degree in that kind of stuff, so I'm like half qualified to speak on this topic. But I am a very, very big music lover, music enjoyer. So I think my interests and my academic background all kind of coincide into this topic. That being said, I just recently watched the Bob Dylan movie, and while I am a big fan of music, like I said, I am probably not a big music fan in the eyes of like people who grew up in North America or in predominantly white countries, because I was never exposed to the classics. My parents are immigrants. They're not listening to the classics. Kind of on a journey of self-discovering that kind of music and whatnot. But having seen A Complete Unknown really inspired me to get thinking about like what happened. I am a newfound Joan Baez fan. Oh my god, she is so good. Like, she is. I'm going to be listening to a lot of her music. I think vocals on point, the music beautiful. I'm obsessed with everything she is. I was also quite enamored by Bob Dylan. You know, not my type of music, don't really fuck with his voice, but the person he was and the lyrics that he wrote, very, very, I want to say, shifting for that time period. I do want to talk about Bob Dylan for a second because I did not expect to like him as much as I did, because obviously he is a cheater and a scumbag for that. However, I think he was a good person. Sue me. But I do attribute it fully to Sylvie. Sylvie is the reason he had his entire personality. Sylvie is the reason that he was a good person. He met Sylvie, he found out all the activism stuff Sylvie does, and he was like, damn, I should do that too, and I should write songs about it. So all of this to say, I fuck with Bob Dylan, but only because of Sylvie. Bless your heart, Sylvie. I'm sorry he cheated on you. He blew up in the 60s, and at that time, there was a huge civil rights movement. And Bob Dylan, with his music, was publicly, like, so loved, and also used it as a medium to speak on the issues of that time. And I think that's what music was and music should be. Historically, art has always been counterculture. Art has been outside the norms. It has been people who don't believe in the status quo, people who want change, have tried to, you know, pursue their message through their art, whether this be a medium like painting, dance, poetry, and obviously music, dating back to as far as Black people in America making soul music, jazz music as their way of building community through slavery, their way of resisting against, the things that were happening to them. That is where music started. That is the roots of music. And I think if you are a musician, it is your due diligence to pay homage to that, to respect that, to uphold those values. In the 60s, Bob Dylan was performing at civil rights movements, civil rights marches and gatherings, and he was like the biggest artist of that time, and he was like this young guy in his 20s making political music. And then came the Beatles, then came John Lennon, who then in the 70s became super involved in human rights issues and consistently performed at benefits, held benefits. I literally have, let me go get it. I have the concert for Bangladesh on vinyl. I believe this concert was held in 1971 by George Harrison. Again, in the Beatles, like the biggest artists at that time got together, held a concert August 1st, 1971 at Madison Square Garden to benefit the people of Bangladesh who were experiencing genocide and famine. Is that ringing any bells? Ringing any bells for you guys? Genocide, famine, it was happening. And that's the check they wrote for $243,000 in the 70s. Can you imagine how much money that is? That is how artists were mobilizing their power. They were mobilizing their audience. This was like a historical benefits concert. It kickstarted that type of movement. And guess what? Bob Dylan was there. Bob Dylan was there too. It was organized by George Harrison, arguably one of the biggest artists at that time in the Beatles. Ringo Starr was a part of it. Bob Dylan was a part of this concert. He played guitar in the concert. These people were so historically changing the landscape of politics through their art. And that's what music was. Even in the 70s, there was this whole hippie psychedelic rock movement centered around world peace. That is what that entire genre, that entire subculture was about. It was about peace in the world. And that is what music has always been. So where did we go wrong? I personally think our entire shift to streaming music and this idea of quantity over quality in music has absolutely destroyed the foundation of the media. Has completely taken it away from what it was meant to be. It was meant to be counterculture. It wasn't meant to appease the masses. It wasn't meant for everybody to enjoy. Artists had integrity. Artists had backbones. Artists knew what they wanted with their music, knew what they wanted to do in mobilizing their audiences, and they did it. However, now music has become a way to make money, and that's because of streaming. And I think streaming has absolutely destroyed music. It has destroyed the music industry. It has destroyed any integrity that there was in the art form. I think Mike's Mike, Mr. Michael Massenio, my fave, made a really good video about it. I'll try to link it in the description if I can find it, but I really recommend people watch it. It's a video about how streams translate to money, and I think it has completely become a numbers game. The more your music is pushed, the more your music is playlisted, the more your music appears in a TikTok. That's how you are making money in the music industry these days. More sales, He goes really in depth about sales and how they're calculated and how charts are made now because of streaming. Excuse me. But I really recommend watching that video, and it's kind of a reason like that initially got me thinking about the music industry now and how it's changed and transformed, and honestly for the worse become this like competitive money making platform. Like, going back to what I was saying about the concert for Bangladesh was experiencing genocide and famine just like countries now in 2024, like Palestine, like Sudan, like Congo. These countries are experiencing the same things, and activists, young activists like myself and my peers, we are speaking out about it, and we are turning to musicians who historically have been a part of these movements, who have historically supported people like me and hopefully you in our struggle of civil liberties and peace and anti-war movements and anti-government like rhetoric. Artists have always been a part of this, except now there's this whole idea of you cannot piss off a certain group of people. If you're like one of the biggest artists in the world, you're losing a chunk of your revenue because you stood up for what's right. What's coming to mind? Taylor Swift. I am a big Swiftie. I went to 2 Eras tours. I have all her albums on vinyl. I love her music. I think her lyricism is so incredible. Could she be using her talents to do good in the world? Yes, 100%, but she doesn't, because she knows if she is to do that, she will isolate a large chunk of her audience, and at the end of the day, it's a money game, it's a numbers game, and they just will not do that. So go to Mike's video, watch it, and you will understand like why that has become such a big problem, in that artists, seriously, it is detrimental to isolate certain parts of their audiences. Do I still think it's the morally right thing to do? Yes. And that goes back to, as an artist today, yes, you may be talented. Yes, you may have the resources to be making music and pushing your music, but you are responsible for honoring the integrity of the music industry. It is on you. You are the new generation. You are not Bob Dylan. You are not the Beatles. But if you are going to be at their level, you need to be able to honor what they did and the foundation that they laid in the industry. Like, it's just so disappointing to see artists choose profit over the backbone of the industry. Like, I saw something, it was like, it would be so amazing if these people had a spine. Like, they are so spineless. They are making music for numbers and money. And there are definitely, I will say, flowers to those that deserve it. Kudos mama to the artists that are still honoring the roots. I will say Macklemore has been a great one, even though I don't really fuck with his music and I think he's weird a little bit. Just like white rapper is a little, but he made his music political. He made music for Palestine. He made a song, and all of the money from that song was donated to relief aid. Like, he did it. That's what you expect an artist with a platform to do. I also want to bring up Kendrick and his Super Bowl performance. Was it the most extravagant Super Bowl performance? No, but I do think that it was a very, very political set, and he did it on purpose, and he had Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam, I think, right? I don't really know American politics that well, but you know, he said, you chose the right time but the wrong guy. And he was there to make a statement. He let one of his dancers have a Palestinian flag in a room full of probably Republicans. I saw a video of the crowd, 90% white people. Like, and Donald Trump was in the room, and for him to allow his dancers to feel safe and comfortable enough to bring up a Palestinian flag, and I think it said like Free Sudan as well. That is so important. And you know what? They won't televise it. They didn't televise it. Of course they didn't, because they don't want you to see that. As in, like, the people controlling the media are backing artists taking a step back from politics. The media, the press, everybody wants to promote an artist that is clean, that is not isolating certain audiences, that is not making political statements. They are the ones that are promoted. So it is in their best interest to not do things like that. But like flowers where flowers are deserved, Kendrick Lamar, take a step forward. Like, that was such an incredible performance, and the crowd, it went over their head. Not to call out the undereducation issue in America, but obviously the undereducation issue in America is a big reason. But he made a political statement. He wants us to be a part of the revolution. He was like, this is a part of the revolution. Like, do not sit on your asses. America is built on the backs of Black people, and right now they are vulnerable. They are at risk of police brutality. America runs off of labor, cheap labor done by immigrants, by people who are undocumented, and they are at risk of getting literally thrown to jail, taken to Guantanamo Bay. Trump wants to take these people to Guantanamo Bay, and Kendrick is saying, guys, get off your feet. I was given the Super Bowl halftime show, and I'm gonna use it to mobilize my audiences. So if you were able to hear that message, like, get up and do something. Flowers to Clairo, Omar Apollo, Phoebe Bridgers. I'm actually gonna pull up the list. Flowers to Faye Webster, flowers to Omar Apollo, flowers to Clairo, flowers to 070 Shake, Daniel Caesar, Rami Youssef. These people who were involved in Artists for Aid in the Concert for Palestine and Sudan. These are the people that we should be supporting. These are the people who are willing to use their platforms for good. These are the people who are still honoring the history of music, honoring what this is for. And I think as consumers of music, as people who enjoy art, we should be supporting these people. We should be supporting the people who put human rights first over profit. While they may not be the biggest artists at the moment, I would argue that Kendrick Lamar is one of the biggest artists at the moment. He was not a part of this benefit concert, but I think he's very loud with what he does, and I think we very much know where his head is at and where his heart lies and what he supports. But the people who were a part of this concert, who were a part of this new generation of Concerts for Aid, we need to give them our flowers. We need to support them. What hurts my heart is that it's not the biggest artist at the moment. It's not your Taylor Swifts. It's not your Beatles. It's not your Bob Dylans. I think there needs to be a call for public pressure for the biggest artists of the industry now, the people who are getting Grammys, the people who are on that stage claiming to be the best and biggest artists of our generation. It is on them to also be the best and biggest people of our generation, because so many people look up to them to know what to do and what to support. And I just want to conclude this video by saying, while it is okay to support certain artists because of their art, we have a responsibility to put that pressure back onto them, to go back to the roots of music, to honor what the industry is built upon, and that is activism, and that is a fight for human rights, and that is supporting minorities and being loud, especially in 2025, especially when there is so much horrible shit happening on the earth because 4 or 5 men cannot have a conversation and talk things out. It is really, really so upsetting to see bigger artists not do anything, and I wish people would have backbones. Fucking do something. Do something. Big artists need to do something like they did in the past. And that is all I wanted to say with this video. I hope it at least motivates some of you to be critical of your favorite artists and to support those who support you and support minorities and support the people who currently need help in the world. And yeah, this video was kind of a mess because I didn't really have a script to go off of. I was just kind of going off of everything that I felt around this topic. But yeah, kudos mamas to anybody who is currently fighting the good fight.